Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Tech. My name's Chad. Take a dive on sports. And welcome to the recap of Week 14. That's right, the accumulation of Monday Night Football. Meaning I'm back in front of you guys once again in front of this camera. Go over to this week's past NFL action and kind of see how well I did with my picks. Not too well this week. Of course, some of that. Also, some injury news is that have accumulated from this week's action, and some other sad news to report in the landscape of the football world. But before I get into all that, if you could go ahead, give me a thumbs up, especially like the content I provide you. Really please, you two guys, really help shine out. You also subscribe. Look at my analytics. Over 80% of you reviewing my work are not subscribed. It doesn't cost you anything and helps me provide more content value for you. Now, I'll start this off with a little somber note, and this is not really NFL related, but it is football related. The head coach at Mississippi State football program, Mike Leach, has passed away Monday night due to what appears to be a massive heart attack that he suffered on Sunday. He's been a very successful head coach. 19 of his squads have made it to the bowls of 21 years. That's pretty good numbers for a head coach, something that universities would like to see. He has his own little coaching tree himself, to include Lincoln Riley out of the USC, who has produced quite a few Heisman winners, including this year's Caleb Williams and Josh Heupel, as well as Cliff Kingsbury, the current head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, also was, head coach at Texas Tech before then. So he has quite a hand in a lot of aspects in terms of current players and then future players as well, with his unique playing style. And sad news, to say the least, and all of our thoughts are for him, for his family, his friends, and his players as they need their time to grieve and try to move forward as best as they can. Well, now I got you all depressed. Let's just go ahead and look over Week 14 action. And in terms of my picks, yeah, it was a pretty dismal week, to say the least. I went 7-6. I can barely win anything. Every game I looked at went the wrong direction. Teams I picked ended up getting blown out. It was. I picked up sets and I was successful in one of them. Really hard the process, especially since the previous week I won 11 games. Now I'm down to 7. So let's just go ahead and kick things off with last Thursday night action between the Raiders and the Rams. Out there in SoFi, Baker Mayfield, who was picked up off of waivers, was not starting. He's only been with the team like 48 hours. And with all the other injuries the Rams suffered, I was going, okay, this is going to be the Raiders game. Raiders, if you looked at how they looked against the Chargers, and they looked like they're poised to make the next step. But that's the problem with the Raiders. They give you glimpses of what they can be, and then they show you who they really are. And the Raiders, for the most part, were a dominating force in that first half. I mean, they should have more touchdowns than what they did, and that's part of the problem with this game in particular. They were not scoring touchdowns. At the end of the first half, they were up 13-3. Baker Mayfield didn't start, but he did end up coming in, and he was just not connecting receivers yet, which is understandable. He's only been with the team 48 hours. He doesn't have a full concept of the offensive yet. So there was going to be issues with that, and that's what I looked at. It's like, okay, this is his first time starting in a short time frame. It's like picking someone off the street corner and telling them in 48 hours you're going to start playing football and expect you to perform at a high level. It's probably not the same with Baker, but what he was playing in Carolina pretty much is. And looking at this aspect, I was like, okay, there's no way. And then they had a successful drive where they didn't get a touchdown. They were down 16-3. They didn't get a touchdown. So things were looking better for them. And then the Raiders didn't pin them in the 2-yard line. They were like, that's it. Game is over. Less than 2 minutes. There's no way Baker Mayfield could engineer a game-winning drive. I said in the tweet, Baker channeled his inner Brady. He engineered a drive. He got penalties to go his way, which also helped keep the game alive, the drive alive as well. I mean, especially when he sacked the quarterback and he stands up and he's holding the ball, and the defensive player just knocks the ball out of his hand. He's gets a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Those type of things kind of demoralize the defense, energize the offense, and they were able to find ways to utilize his arm strength, which Baker does have. He does have some football smarts. He's not high IQ, but he does have a little bit of an IQ when it comes to football. Able to let him engineer a drive that led the Rams with a 98-yard winning touchdown drive to win the game. They ended up winning 17-16. It was like last Monday night with Tampa Bay and New Orleans. New Orleans had Tampa Bay dead to rights, and Tampa Bay came back to win 14 points. It is also a carbon copy of that game. It was unreal. So congrats to Baker for getting a huge W for the Rams, even though this season's going to be pretty much a wash, even though they're not officially eliminated. But they pretty much had to foot out the door anyways. So that's, you start off on a week with a loss, and here we go with Sunday. Way up to Western New York, where the Buffalo Bills playing host to the Jets. And this one's like, okay, this is going to be Buffalo. I think Buffalo's going to have no problem with this one. The defense was going the right direction. The Jets defense showed up. They were stifling Buffalo like they did the first game. Buffalo couldn't really do much anything. Only 7 points were scored completely in that first half. The offense struggled, but that's because the Jets defense was able to swarm in and do what they had to do to stop certain aspects. Get the timing off for Josh Allen to his favorite target, Diggs. I mean, it was a phenomenal performance by the defense for the Jets. But you are taking the Bills. You can't completely keep them grounded. They will find ways to break through, and they end up doing. 17-7 heading to that final frame. Wasn't a complete go away because there was a blocked punt that went in the back of the end zone, gave the Jets a safety. The Jets were trying towards the end, just couldn't make any comeback whatsoever. I mean, they were down 20-12, heading to the final drive, and then it was ended up 4th and 10, and just couldn't. Ball got tipped in the air, and that was it. The Bills hang on to beat the Jets by the final score of 20-12. To keep their tenuous lead on the number 1 seed in place, and gives the Jets have to fight for that playoff spot. Then we head to Cincinnati, where the Browns came to town in the Battle of Ohio, and the Browns is a team Burrow can't beat. Burrow can beat the Chiefs, but he can't beat the Browns. Deshaun Watson comes into town looking to get his second win as a Cleveland Brown. In there early going, it was Cincinnati. They were up 13-3 at the half. They were doing pretty much anything they can do. They were doing flea flickers. Jamar Chase was making key catches. Mixon was doing his part. Perrion was also scoring touchdowns. So they were doing everything correctly, and they were just keeping Cleveland disrupted. Cincinnati was able just to maintain their position and end up winning 23-10, get them to 9-4, making that in his AFC North divisional race even tighter to find out who's going to win that division. That might come to the final week of the season. Then we head to Big D. where the Cowboys playing host to the Texans, and I thought this was just going to be a slaughter. Somebody forgot to tell that to the Texans. um, they went into Dallas with a whole new perspective. They came out firing. They took it to Dallas early and often. 20-10 at the half. I mean, it looked like the Texans were going to win that game. It went 23-10 heading into the final frame. But it was just after a matter of time that Houston just gave up. They ran out of steam, basically. They did great for 3/4 of the game, but they couldn't finish the game. Dallas was able to engineer a late fourth quarter drive to give them a touchdown right at the end, have them edge out the Texans 27-23. Definitely some concerns with Dallas because they also now lost one of their offensive linemen, Terrence Steele. He's going to be gone for the season, so that's going to play some havoc. But with Dallas, they in signing T.Y. Hilton, they brought him back out. So they didn't get OBJ. They decided to go with somebody else that could probably play right away. Beckham, you don't know his status. So you've a veteran help the receiving core. But if you don't have an offensive line, it's not going to make your running attack effective, which means your passing attack's not going to be effective because your quarterback won't have the time. And Dak's got to be a little bit more mobile back there. A little bit. But, yeah, this could be some interesting things for Dallas. I think Dallas will be fine. They'll be able to make the playoffs, no problem. But, going to teams that come in and use that Texans game plan, and if there's anybody else but the Texans, Dallas would have lost this game. Plain and simple. If Minnesota played like this, Minnesota would probably win that game instead of getting blown out by Dallas. So the thing with Dallas, which version are you going to get? You're going to get the one that went to Minnesota and took it to the Vikings, or you get the one that went limp against the Texans but still ended up winning at the end? Question marks. And speaking of Vikings, they went to Detroit, where I called this game correctly, mind you, and key NFC North Division showdown. Division leading Vikings, one of the mid-card teams right now in Detroit. They're surging right now after a horrible start. They are now just bustling with excitement. Starting off 1-6. They're 4-1 in the head end of this game since then. Kirk Cousins tried to do his best. I mean, he had over 400 yards passing with Jefferson, over 200 yards receiving. I mean, that is ridiculous that they were able to get that much in 0 touchdown connections. They were doing just enough to make Jefferson happy with his stat line. Get all the stats you can possibly get. But Detroit was just too much. They were always a punch ahead. So it was 14-7 at the half. I'm like, okay, it's a close game. Figured as much. You go 21-13, head into the final frame. That's when points start going back and forth. But Detroit was just too much for Minnesota. Beat him 34-23. Give me my fourth victory of the day thus far. And Detroit, if they continue to play this way, they could find themselves sneaking into the playoffs. There's a lot of things that have to happen that be ahead of them, like a Seattle or New York or Washington. A combination of those teams stumbling and then they continue to win. It's possible, but I see this one, Detroit's going to make a nice run to kind of miss the playoffs, but things are looking up for the Motor City Kitties. They actually become Lions once again. Huge victory for them. And now we head out to Nashville in an AFC South showdown between the Titans and Jaguars. Jaguars come to town feeling pretty good about themselves. They came out short against Detroit. So that's definitely one of the things you got to look at. And Tennessee also had an issue as well in their last game. Came up flat. So both these squads are looking at ways to trying to improve themselves. This is where your true stars will shine. King Henry, once again, he had over 100 yards rushing, but only one touchdown. Trevor Lawrence, over 300 yards passing, 3 TDs. Which star performed better? Jacksonville was doing pretty much anything they wanted to. Ingram for the Jags. Over 160 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he was the favorite target for Lawrence. They couldn't stop him. I mean, the only quarter in this game that was any good was the first, where the Titans were up 14-7. But after that, it was all Jags. They went in Nashville, smashed the Titans 36-22, and really put in question of who is going to take the South, because Jacksonville is now starting to climb up. Now they're only 2 games behind Tennessee for that division crown, and could the AFC South also have a losing team win? There's a question marks definitely in Tennessee. Things are just not jiving what they should. I'm sure Vrabel will get some things going the right direction for him, but if they continue this particular track, you could probably see Jacksonville sneak in there and take the division from him, snatch it from the table per se. But we'll have to see what in the coming weeks how that one turns out. Then we head to New York, where I call for an upset. I picked the Giants here. I mean, I think Philadelphia's going to end up losing probably about 2 or 3 games, but the time frame is done. And I figure the Giants might sneak one in there. Maybe that was a water cooler material that the Eagles used, because this was not even close at all. 24-7 at the half. Jalen Hurts scores his 100th rushing TD. He also threw for 2 others. Sanders had over 140 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. It was just a one-sided affair. It didn't matter what the Giants were doing. The Eagles are just way too much, too powerful. They just dominated the G-Men 48-22. Like I said, I was looking for an upset, and the G-Men were not it. The big blue looked like the little blue in this one, or baby blue. It was not even close. Philadelphia has now clinched their playoff berth. Of course they did. Everything is looking like they're going to dominate the NFC, but stranger things have happened. We've seen teams that with 1 loss get in the playoffs and just totally choke. So, but right now Philadelphia's in there. Jalen Hurts should be in the conversation for MVP. He's doing things at a remarkable rate. There's a lot of question marks with him coming out of college, being the two different universities. There's question mark about his accuracy downfield, and he has learned from that. He has developed himself in that aspect. He's becoming more of a pocket passer, a more accurate passer. He's able to make the reads. He's able to make the right decisions to elude when he has to. And he is definitely should be a top tier candidate. Can't talk right now for MVP, because the one I picked it's kind of flattened out a little bit. But anyways, then we head over to Pittsburgh, where the Steelers are playing host to the Ravens. Lamar Jackson's out this week for a leg injury. He's probably going to be out for 2 weeks. Not sure about this one. So I figured the Steelers have a chance. Tyler Huntley, not the same caliber as Lamar. He is still able to manage drives and whatnot. He had that game-winning drive last week against Denver. So he has a competency in the offense, so he knows how it works. He's been there for a little bit. And the Ravens did knock out Kenny Pickett. So Trubinsky came in, and Trubinsky is being Trubinsky, throwing to his teammate. Oh, wait a minute. No, that was his former teammate in Chicago, because he threw it to Roquan Smith for an interception. After earlier struggles, I mean, this was really a defensive showdown between these two clubs. It was 13-7 at the half. Trubinsky did have a good drive, in the fourth to give him at least a touchdown, but doesn't overlook his 3 picks he had, as Baltimore was able to edge out Pittsburgh 16-14, guaranteeing Tomlin his first losing season. Because if you think the Steelers are going to win the rest of their games, you're high. I don't see that whatsoever. I mean, yeah, they still have to lose one more game to guarantee Tomlin's first losing season, but yeah, you can. The writing is on the wall. Then we head up to Mile High. Speaking of high, let's be a mile up. Where the Broncos are playing host to Kansas City in a huge divisional matchup, and I said this is going to be Kansas City all day long. And in the early goings, it was 27-0 at one point in time. Kansas City was doing anything they want. You had a play where Mahomes was flush out of the pocket, running towards the sideline. He had a couple defenders around him. I forgot the receiver's name, was right behind him. Mahomes wasn't really looking, flicked it, and went for a touchdown. I mean, he even knew it when he threw it. You saw that in the at that beginning of the video where the receiver caught it and started taking off. He was like putting his hands up. He's like he knew it was going in because it's nothing but green grass in front of that guy. Sure enough, touchdown. But then Mahomes was doing un-Mahomian things. He's throwing interceptions, which led to a couple drives by Denver. Now, mind you, by this time frame, one of these drives, Russell Wilson got knocked out. He was actually put himself on the line. He was trying to run for the end zone. His head hit the ground first. Seen pictures of him have a nice little knot in the side of his head. So he's definitely probably going to be out for next week. So Rypien came in. But he came in. He did everything he possibly could. He engineered 2 touchdowns. He actually engineered quite a few touchdown drives. So the offense definitely performed a lot better under Rypien. The defense stepped up, stifled Kansas City for the most part. I mean, Denver's right on 14 points at the end of the first half. And then first drive in the second half, they rattled off a touchdown. So they went 21 points unanswered. Kansas City was scratching their head like, where this team come from? Kansas City engineered drag into 34, and then that's when the defenses really kind of took over from then on out. Stifled a lot of the offenses, shut down Mahomes, and kind of gave the rest of the league maybe a playbook. I mean, yeah, Cincinnati and Buffalo already did this already to Kansas City, but Denver tried to come back, failed, fell short actually. Kansas City was able to escape Denver with a 34-28 victory. They keep the chase of Buffalo for the number 1 team in AFC. And then we head out to Santa Clara, where the 49ers are playing host to Tom Brady. Tom Brady's originally from the area, so it's kind of like a homecoming for him. It's Brock Purdy's first NFL start. Mr. Irrelevant becomes QB number 1 in his first game. All their iterations or any other quarterback making the first start against Brady have failed to win this game. And with the 49ers, they actually lost Deebo Samuel in this aspect. So when the receivers did go down, there's a possibility of him coming back towards the end of the season, possibly for the playoffs. Brock found he didn't get hurt himself in this game, so right now his actions are day to day. But Brock Purdy was being Purdy. He outplayed Tom Brady in this game. It was a shellacking, to say the least. 28-0 at the first half. I mean, McCaffrey was just busting out runs. He had over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. Brady was spending a lot of time on the ground because the 49ers defense was getting to him. They only managed one good drive, which was a touchdown. You can't keep Brady out of the end zone. It just doesn't happen. And San Francisco just rolled Tampa Bay 35-7 as Brock Purdy becomes the first ever quarterback who make their career start against Brady and win. So maybe there might be a little bit of quarterback controversy with him and Trey Lance moving forward. Who knows? Doubt it, but we only speculate in this one. And then we head up to Seattle, where the Seahawks play host to the Panthers. And I did not see this one coming at all. This one I thought would be Seattle all day long. But Sam Darnold has been playing very well. The interim coach has got him in games, so maybe he should drop the interim title and make him the full-time head coach, because he looks like he's got command of this team. Maybe get a few more assets in there, and they might do some work. Hubbard only had 74 yards, but he didn't get into the end zone. And Geno tried his best. He ended up throwing 3 touchdowns, but it's just like there was an answer by Carolina for everything Seattle did. I mean, Carolina jumped out 10-0 in the first quarter, up 20-14 at the half. Carolina's making sure they kept them distance away, making key interceptions. I mean, there's even Terrence Marshall made this weird catch. The ball was low, and he ended up catching it between his legs, right at his knees, and just rolled around and just squeezed the ball with his legs. That's why you don't skip leg day. But he made a phenomenal catch right there. Carolina holds on to beat Seattle 30-24. Puts them 1 game behind Tampa Bay for the division. Yeah, somebody with a losing record's going to win that NFC South. I don't think it's going to be Carolina, but they're definitely going to make things interesting. Then we head out to L.A., where the Chargers play host to the Dolphins. This one, I picked the Chargers anyways to win this game. And Tua had another bad game out in California. Chargers were up 17-7 at the halftime. Didn't look back. Tua felt not comfortable. Herbert had over 360 yards passing. They weren't torching the Dolphins as much as the yardage indicates, because they're just getting field goals. The Dolphins defense would then stifle in that red zone at in certain points where they had the opportunity to maybe score touchdowns, and they just locked down everything. So LA had to settle for field goals, which is tribute to the Dolphins defense in that aspect. Give their offense a chance. It's like you want to give them field goals because our offense should get touchdowns, because you look who Tua throws to. I mean, the cheetah and the penguin. Come on now. But it wasn't the case. Chargers able to hold on, beat the Dolphins 23-17. You have the Chargers sniffing around that playoff race as well, along with the Jets and the Patriots. And speaking of the Patriots, Monday Night Football, they're out in Arizona. And this one I picked the Cardinals. There's just something about Kyler Murray that every so often he likes to showcase himself. Unfortunately, on the third play of the day of the game, he was outside the pocket, trying to lose, put some moves on the defender, ended up tearing his ACL. He is gone for the season, so Colt McCoy had to come out. And McCoy is a veteran quarterback. He knows his offense very well. He's just a different playing style. He's not a threat on the out. He's not a threat to run. So defenses can play the game a little bit differently with him in the game compared to Murray. And it showed. New England's defense changed, and they went after McCoy. I mean, he had some great drives in that second quarter where, Arizona went into the locker rooms leading 13-10, but beyond that, nothing. DeAndre Hopkins actually had a turnover that got scooped up for a score, and that pretty much puts New England on top 20-13. That's all was needed. Matt Jones did enough. He got first right early in the game, but as the game went on, they got a little bit better. His defense stepped up, made their points on the offense, gave New England a perfect opportunity to come back. The Cardinals just shoot themselves in the foot. There were so many dumb penalties, legal shifts, offensive. I mean, you're talking about a guy like DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green, 2 veteran receivers, just doing silly mistakes. And when you have those costly penalties that take you out of successful drives and it puts you in third and long, second and long situations, it's hard to really battle it back, and especially when you're down so many points. I have a feeling this is going to be the last we'll see Kingsbury in Arizona. I'm not sure he's going to be fired anytime soon, but he definitely will probably be gone at the end of the season. There's just too many issues in this team. Zach Ertz is not being a huge factor in this team. The defense is meh. They got to get ejection of youth on that team, and that's what they're seriously missing. They go after all these Riley veterans, which you need the veterans on the team. Don't get me wrong. We need somebody different than AJ Green. Sorry. AJ Green is like number 4 receiver right now in his career. That's just my opinion. Of course, I wouldn't be on the practice squad if I was playing, so I have the hands of a guard. And I almost abided the match. But yeah, this past week, 7-6, not a good showing. Like I said, I tried to pick an upset. Didn't work that way with the Giants. Didn't see the Jaguars demolishing Tennessee the way they did. I think injuries saying the Steelers win for me. But, hey, which game this past week surprised you the most? Which team showed you that they are the for real threat in this postseason and possibly able to lift the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year? My 2 teams are still in the hunt for a playoff position. That is Buffalo and San Francisco. Even though San Francisco may be a little bit different because you got definitely 2 very good teams out east with Dallas and Philadelphia that could challenge that aspect, especially Philadelphia. But, hey, just let me know down below what you think. Which games you look forward towards next week. I'll get that video out to you guys within the next day or so. In this time of year, make sure you spend special time with your family because time is short. There's been too much tragedy floating around with a lot of people, myself included, and also to the Leach family and the Mississippi State family with their loss of their head coach Mike Leach. Said, keep your loved ones close. Make sure you get those checkups when they need be, and try to do the right things when they can, or when they can afford to. But hey, just let me know down below. You can also, share this video with friends and family. It helps spread this channel out. You can also hit that thumbs up once again. Once you subscribe, make sure you click that bell and turn on notifications until next time I post any more content on my channel. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.